Hey everyone! Thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts. Got Gordon Freeman, the free man, leading you from the darkness into the light through the cryptocurrency trading, live day trading, live without a net. And if your name is Annette, you can join us too. So I am here back because I noticed a little bit of this rally peeking up here. I thought it was worth mentioning. And since we have 5,355 Bitcoins of 24-hour volume on ONT, thought it was worth a mention, thought it was worth covering. And we had one position, I believe it was 33, that we cleared a little bit ago. We had these two positions; they're actual hodls. I remember the exact day we were actually doing a Bible study when we were the lower of the two, and I was literally like 2 points away from it clearing. Should have been watching it, should have just done it, but it's okay. You know, these kind of things happen. Raven does have a little bit of extra momentum in here. They're both kind of following what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin is up about $1 million in 24-hour volume, so that's significant because, I mean, that's just now happened. So, man, is it a monster. It is a monster. So, I just wanted to come here and join back in, you know, because things were a little bit mellow earlier. Not a whole lot happening in the market that was available, so just wanted to come back in. I'm going to see real quick, just happen to see whether we have any of our, yeah, I can just go ahead and see. I'll change. Let me get this right. Full screen browser, go to here. Okay, so just making sure. If you are there, say hi. I will check the chat and I will respond to you. Make sure and join us, sign up. We're not trying to sell you anything other than what you are seeing here and more. So if you join us on the webinar, we will tell you all about ourselves and what our plan is here, what we're trying to accomplish for you and for ourselves. We're going to tell you about the exponential growth curve, and it is the most super fantastical thing with numbers. Greatest thing since fractals and pi 3.14. So yeah, getting a little wacky over here. So this is actually looking like a good position for BCPT, but 1161 is just, I don't think that it's got the momentum to do it. I'm not looking to take a risk with that right now. My main reason here is to see whether this is going to start a new uptrend or not. So we're going to find out. There's enough volume to support it. There is an actual uptrend, and when these guys right here meet, you know, the thing that's giving us a little bit of a not sure is the MACD. It's a little bit short for a downtrend on a MACD, and I know a lot of people go on much longer information. Of course, that makes sense. I understand. It's a lot easier to do a 30-minute call than it is to do a 1-minute call. That's all I can say. So we seem to be doing fairly decent. Okay, so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here. I'm actually going to come in and test things out. I'm not that low, 3,200. Yep, just had a feeling this might be worth watching. I don't feel confident enough to say that you should go in at 3,300, but I think that it's worth watching to see what this trend is going to do. And we're really excited that if it continues upwards, I mean, we might even clear these old positions. They're not large, they're just symbolic. You know, I mean, they're like basically $40 and $40 in Bitcoin world. If I saw something truly substantial going on as I'm easing my way upwards, these are not large positions to fill. This is the kind of liquidity that you really like to see. I don't like things like, I'm just going to come over here. I probably don't have it saved to favorites, do I? Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, here it is. Yeah. So I don't like this kind of stuff, man, where it's about as low as the volume, as low a value as it can be. And you have 300 Bitcoin, 500 Bitcoin in these different positions. Well, I mean, if you're down here, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, if you're at 13 or 14 possibly. People are expecting this to skyrocket, and maybe it will. If it does, then it's going to need to see like 10,000, 20,000 BTC 24-hour volume for people to be able to slip through these different positions. We saw it a bit after, you know, very recent after it had first been listed. I covered that, and it was actually a remarkable thing to see. I mean, I definitely understand the excitement surrounding that. When you see it eating through like 100 Bitcoins in a matter of minutes, it's unbelievable, but it takes something like, 30, 40 Bitcoin 24-hour volume, which breaks down, obviously, it's the same as what it's doing. So had a feeling, guys. It's continuing its uptrend. That's really awesome. That's what we are here for. So I did 32.22, 32.55. I'm just, like I said, I'm not necessarily looking to get in on anything, but I want to show you in case you're interested in following the uptrend. It made it to 33.40 the last time, and it's about to hit there again. So this is exciting. And while it's doing that, I'm going to look at, okay, that is the highest that it did in that time. Let me show you, going back to what, September possibly? Possibly. Maybe September. I mean, I feel so certain about its strength, even in the threes and higher. There it goes. Hey, you go do your thing. In fact, I'm going to tell our group real quick. Well, actually, I can do it here. So, back one for ONT. It is doing what I was hoping to see. Check it out. And I'm going to show you. Here we are in our group here, and I'm going to go to just recent messages, and guys, ONT on another Klimba. Klein. In fact, guys, that connotates that everybody's a guy, and I don't want to. Okay. Everyone. Yep, that means everybody. So, pretty sure that this is still loading to the same thing. YouTube gets so weird with their beta stuff. They make changes that don't even include things that you really need them to include. This looks like what just happened. Okay, so yes, I agree with me. All right, so I'm just going to grab this and say hop back in may be brief but exciting, a little pick up in market. All right, so come join us. Seriously, we like having people here. It's fun. We like to talk. We hope you learn. All right, so check this out. Hitting 3,400. Okay, so yeah, I mean, just this is that fear of missing out thing. It's picking up pace. It's picking up value. It's hitting the peak of the stock RSI. So yeah, I never get a chance to finish my sentences when I'm right about this stuff. And I don't want to be one of those guys like, am I right or am I right? I'm right, right? But it is important to be able to point out your accuracy if you're going to instill confidence in people. So, okay, so there's a little bit of the drop. So I'm thinking 33.38. 33.38 as far as kind of a crossover section there. I like to get my feet wet before I go in on a position, even if it means that I'm watching something I know is going to go through. We would not be where we are if I were not cautious and if we did not have the money to circulate. So right now we're working in rather large positions, and we're trying to make that transformation over into our, hopefully the next stage of the hockey stick. If you're watching for the exponential growth curve, that next phase is going to be rather radical changes. Hopefully we can get in the point where we can do another doubling. We've done, I believe we started, I know from the very beginning we started at $20 trade size and moved all the way up. And technically I should be doing about $7,000 trades by now. That just saying that out loud is like, woo, okay. But in the real world, not the Bitcoin world, but when you're looking at cold hard cash and paying the bills and all that kind of stuff, that is definitely a lot of money to us. We come from humble beginnings, but when we're looking to double and triple and then double again, that same thing happens quicker and quicker and quicker. We're in that range where when we reevaluated everything, readjusted our rule of fifths that you're going to learn by looking at things, we readjusted to an $80 trade size. And so we have doubled that to 160, doubled the 160 to 320, 320 doubled to 640, 640 doubled to, oh my gosh, was it 1380? Stop doing that to yourself, man. So 1380, 1400, 2800, 2800 to 5600. So, I mean, that's quite a bit of doubling. 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, 640. I guess we've done about 7 times now. So that's kind of a big deal. And I mean, you got to understand, some of this is in huddles, which means that you have to be very cautious, especially as you're growing too large into that. You have to scale down a little bit to make room for your growth. The worst thing that could happen is that you grow so quickly, and we've done exactly this in one of our early things. I was kind of warning our team. I was like, if we continue with this accuracy and we grow, we're going to grow right into our circulation. Meaning that, if you got 1,000 that you're circulating and you work your way up in accuracy to $1,000 trade size, you ain't got nothing else to circulate. You got one position. So you got to decide, am I going to scale down to half, work $500 back up to 1,000 again? Or am I going to invest a larger amount to not slow down? That's the smartest thing to do. It's not like you're patching up mistakes. What you're doing is you're not slowing down your circulation process. So, it's tough to explain these things outside of the real trading process. But you live, you learn, you move forward, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to look at 33.22. I love the fact that, 33.22 was too much, even just at 12.55 when we first began. So this is really fun. So I think I changed the time accurately on all this stuff. All right, so the stock RSI gave us exactly the right information for this. And so we're going to see if it does it again. This is my inkling. This is my expectation here, is that it's about to give us another up, which would be a double up, which I really like. I like those. Those are fun. Those are neat when they happen. Muy bien. Si me gusta. Gonna check and see if anybody is there asking any questions. Okay, so we should be good. Very cool. So we came up to 33.20, and as you can see, when I talk about, I like to come in a little shallow. It's not going to seem very shallow in a second. And you know what? Not shallow. Yeah, let's use the getting feet wet analogy. I like to test the water before going in. That is the thing. It looks like 33.75, so like to 34.20 is going to be a safe range in there. I love the fact that it's moving quick. Quick is my preferred pace. We haven't seen a lot of it in the market in a long time, so you haven't really seen me work yet. You know what I'm saying? So got to get down to it. Phoenix is taking off the same way. That's really, really awesome. In fact, okay, here's where, well, you know what? I'm not going to do it right now. I don't want to keep shifting around and making you wait on things. Yep. Yeah, I mean, yep. Okay, so show you where our position is. Not incredibly far off. See? So, gosh, I mean, I really think it's going to do it. But if it doesn't do it here, then, yeah, I just want to kind of let it do its thing. It's exciting. I can see the benefit of going in here. Obviously, the pattern is there, or I wouldn't be here with you. Just a little concerned that it comes in a little shallow, and I don't want to get stuck with another position. So, looking at the same thing over here with Phoenix. It's a really good Phoenix rising. We actually have some, I think I have one in the 800s and one in the 900s from really old stuff. That would go back to over here. And yeah, that was around October. And you know, so one of the very few times that I've gone beyond that trend because I really saw it doing something. And I just, you know, I got stuck up there towards the top. Doesn't happen often. Usually don't fall for stuff. But honestly, I mean, I still think that it was not all that bad a call at that time. Hindsight and all that stuff. Poe, a little bit too stacked up there. Everybody loves Raven, quoth the Raven nevermore. So ADA, it's actually gone up, not enough, and it hasn't come all the way back down to where I think the re-entry point should be. So let's see, engine. It's kind of in a narrow pattern there. You know, it's so crazy because I've actually been needing to take a break and run an errand, which seems crazy for 1 in the morning, but you know, don't worry, it's not a drug run or anything. Not my kind of thing. Yeah, got to get groceries, running out of groceries. But every time I try to leave, you pull me back in. This market, it's crazy. They got to keep on rolling. So I might actually, if I don't go into something right away, right now, right away, I may just let this run, and I'll see if you did leave anything that you want me to give you notes on. You gotta work with us here. Gotta join the community. Come be a part of the crypto revolution. Mass adoption comes from liquidity. Liquidity comes from trading on a legitimate exchange. Boom. Telling you the truth, folks. 34.41. There we go. Fantastic. Crypto Magico. I'm actually going to switch over to our browser version right here. You can see different but same. So exciting. I love seeing the pace pick up. So our next position would be at 4333. And not really expecting that right away, but man, we're down to only 61 orders left out of 15 months of trading. Very exciting, and pretty aggressively so. So now I'm curious at 3312. I am actually curious. There's a chance that I'll have to reload this if it's doing that weird browser thing that some things do. Right now it's not. 3312. So it's made it to 3450. I mean, that's quite a climb. I don't really expect it to do that climb, but I'm just curious if it's worth trying to go in on the up at all. It did the double up that we were talking about, so that's very cool. can actually see in here what's happening with the beautiful, the wonderful VWAP is that it's actually showing the averaging of the volume, and it's going up with the price. So it's not just the price bringing the average up, but the volume is going up with the price. It's not just kind of hovering around the same thing and doing less selling. So that's something interesting to understand about volume trends, okay? Not just the cityscape that you see down here with the green and the reds. You know, obviously a tall green means that it's buying up. A tall red means that it's selling down. But you could have the volume continuing to go up, and you see the position going down. Yes, that's your red. Doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of volume if it's steady. You know, you're going to only see a little bit at a time. So that's one of the things that people sometimes get thrown off by. They're only looking for big things to happen. Well, I mean, so much happens, not just in what comes next, but in the actual movement. You know, you could have very small amounts of red activity in the volume for hours, and that sucker would be way low, and vice versa. All right, so here's where it's going to break there again. 33.55. Probably not going to allow that to go in. I am curious how far down it sells. Looks like right on the trend line, right there at where it meets the VWAP. So if we were to look at this in comparison with a Bollinger, still on the upper side of the Bollinger, you can maybe see why I like using both of them. I'm not sure it's going to do much of a down MACD. Boom, 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 and then a change. It could very easily continue up. Kind of exciting stuff. Yeah, just not seeing going in there. So, boom. Okay. And I'm going to come back here to the client and watch the same thing here. So 36.44 would be the next thing that we would sell if it does sell off, and it's kind of cool to think, you know, one of the very few things that has been an actual hold. You know, we've been waiting for several months, but always kind of knew it was going to come back around. And the main thing that happened to that was, you know, from September into November, it, you know, was very close to being able to handle the position on its own until the Bitcoin Cash hard fork period of time, where things lost a lot of confidence in the market, lost a lot of volume in the market. There was a big sell-off to pay for the hash rate wars. There's absolutely no question that that's what happened. People are professionals, you know, professional people, you know, decades of experience, are trying to draw trend lines to try to make a comparison to what happened. It was not a natural move. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. I was there when it was happening. I knew exactly what was going on while it was happening. It was clear as day, no question about it, that the technical process that was happening caused harm to the Bitcoin ecosystem because of the very people. That's the problem with the centralized aspect of decentralization. It is more highly centralized than governments. It really is. But mass adoption and people interested in mining and finding other ways to increase the interest level and spread out the peer-to-peer aspect of things, this only gets more consistent and more trustworthy as it goes along. So people need to understand about diluting in the marketplace too. You know, the having one of everything is one thing. Having 2 and 7 and 14 of certain very specific components, very important components, for instance, stablecoins. Once you get beyond a certain amount, it just starts diluting the market. So along with some of the mass adoption is going to come some very not pleasant things. And you will see that I'll be one of those guys saying, see, I told you it was going to happen, and now it happened, and it did. Maybe I won't say that. But, you know, as soon as I hear laughter on the other end of stuff, then I'll know whether you're annoyed by my voices or... You know what? It's who I am. It's who I am. I guess part of the problem is that, you know, a lot of the people that are into crypto are a little bit younger than me, and they may not have a clue some of the references that would be natural for me to go into. So that's kind of funny too. You wouldn't be prudent. Yep. Okay. Theta, theta, beta, beta. Yep. Leave that alone. Fuel. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. You can do it. More people need to know about fuel. Get in there and push. You can do it. So made it up to 325 on Phoenix. Red Pulse Phoenix. STEEM making it in the 12s again. Good for you. There and there. Good stuff. So got my eye on Ion. Key made it from 73 to 74. Ain't no big thing. Okay, so yeah. This is an exciting trend. Hopefully that's not the top of it. I mean, it certainly could be. But it seems to me like boom, boom, boom. It's about to change, and then it's going to do something different. Volume is coming down, but that doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's coming down itself. So we shall see. I'm going to take one more look over here. And I'm going to check Phoenix. I know we have some positions in Phoenix as well. So a little bit weaker, this version of the same thing. Yeah, so we have a 444, an 888, and a 999. So the 9 is, definitely higher than it needs to be. But decided that we're going to let some of that go to a higher percentage. So we'll see. As we get closer to some of those, you know what? May decide to actually take a loss for the first time in a really long time. Don't think it's going to come to that, though. So sometimes I like changing the atmosphere with the visuals. One of the things I like about the browser, you can do by last price here. And if you look over in the client, you can have the pair, so it's alphabetical, either starting at A or starting at Z. You have volume, which start at big or small, whichever way you want to. Man, TNT, you're at the bottom of the list, man. That's all right. Got room to grow. We've already traded all of our TNT. Already sold it at a profit. And the change, the percentage up or percentage down, depending on where you want to see. So you got those three things there. But over here, you have this wonderfully important feature right here, last price, which is really, I like to get into those ranges. What happens when you say, this is, only a 2-digit, it's not quite worth a penny. In fact, it's worth a third of a penny at 80. But it's been up 3%, so I'm curious what it's able to do at 3% with only 50 BTC 24-hour volume. So it made it from 80 to 82. Well, I mean, in what period of time? Okay, if you knew exactly where to be, exactly when. Right here, this was around midnight, and right over here was less than an hour, just shy of an hour, depending on how long that. So, I mean, if you did one, you'd still be much more than 1%. In fact, I will show you. If we went here and said 82, and let's say that I wanted 0.7 guaranteeing that I paid my fees at their highest that they would cost, and I still got my 0.5%, so it would still be an 82. See that? So 1.3%, let's say. So somewhere around 1.2. So you'd be getting 1% for just going from 82 to 83. Why does that matter? Because this went from, oh, you know what? It was just 80, but the same thing applies. Sorry, I was thinking 82. If it goes from 80 to 82, all you really need to do is to go to 81. But it can get stuck going back and forth between these two things, especially when there's one, 10 Bitcoin, 7 Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin. There's an expectation this is going to go up again. So what I would do is I would come over here and look at it on the week, and is extremely low to its lifetime. So it's actually got a lot of room to grow. In fact, if it's not a terrible coin, I'll have to do an analysis on the actual fundamental analysis on the coin. We'll look into that. But if it's not a bad project, if it's not at risk of being delisted at any point in time, then it might actually be a good one to trade on. So I usually put these in the category because of the low volume, because of the low value, both of those. They tend to have a problem moving quicker. So even though it has been worth less, I mean, 60 was really low for that. So, I mean, that's very recent. But you can see over the weeks to come, it's expecting to narrow and narrow and narrow that trade range. But it could still be as much as 10, 15 wide. This is a very long trend. So it's been worth all the way up here. My goodness, this is one of those 90% plus moves there. So TNB might be something to watch. But I noticed that just by looking at, just how down or just how up they are in that smaller value range. Phoenix it's sitting in that perfect range. If the volume goes up, it's a great one to trade. It really is. So I hope that it's not a stupid group of people. I mean, there are no stupid people, but just, bad folks don't want to, find out that they're just horrible. So, and I don't honestly know. Red Pulse Phoenix, we looked at what they do. I believe they're the ones that report on Chinese-related markets and businesses. ZIL is starting to pick up, guys. This is interesting. Gosh, take a pill, ZIL. 471, 474 is really what we'd like to be able to see it do. So I'd expect it to move a little bit slower. Very interesting. Very, very cool. All right, guys. So one last look over here. Not like it's, different information, but so it is still holding up here. It could wobble around here for a little bit before spiking again. Usually these things start to lose momentum when it does what it's doing. Remember how I said boom, 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 and then a change? Okay, you can see that this is obviously not the same shape as these two, right? So keep watching that, and I'm going to let this run. If you have questions, I will check one last time. Full screen browser. Good to hear. And I believe this is einer the place to on this. Okay. Cool. So type something here. If you got something you want me to check on, it'll be a little bit of time. I'm going to let it run. That's what I'm going to do. Going to let it run. So I'm going to leave this on the Binance. And I'll be back with you soon. Hey everyone, so let me see if I missed anything. Probably not, it's been pretty slow tonight. So we'll see. Yep. So are we still going? Let me find out. Okay. Boy, I guess you just heard me cough and stuff. Sorry about that. Yeah, there you go. There's more. Okay. I was saying, oh, jeez. Okay. Alright, here we go. So, back to Binance. Man, intense day. Okay. Okay, so we're coming back down from 33.62. Alright, just wanted to make sure I recalibrate myself to the market and what it is doing. So, sorry again for coughing on you guys. Okay, so Raven, 1044, up 14%. It is kind of a big deal considering the 10% and more than that percents that it's been doing on other days. So you got to think that it's like up from whatever it was already up from. Very nice. Raven's going to be one of those 1100 coins. That's pretty awesome. So the structure of its fluidity, its liquidity is going to be different now. That's really cool. Welcome to the next grade. You have graduated. Is it a myth? Is it a legend? It's a mystery. Mystery? I believe is what that is. We will investigate. So 201 to 204 would have been a good move there. I was able to move through those pretty quickly. So 1800, 1890. Gotta remember, up from 1890. BCPT is still struggling a little bit. I think 1250 is a safe, good average for what it's worth in this climate. Engine coin. So we would want to see just slightly more than that. It's definitely playing the value average game there. TNB could be interesting. Not yet. DNT. Still hovering in that same range. It hasn't gotten any help yet. Help is on the way, I hope. 524. STEEM. So, love the STEEM campaign. 777. Make STEEM worth $7.77. Cool stuff. Lend you a hand? Okay. Alright then. So, we saw this come back up from 32.98 up to 34 something, and that's pretty cool. Wow. It's still going up. It's still going up. When do you mark the difference between FOMO and is just a good idea to go up with it? I don't know, but IOST is still going up. Everybody's happy here, and Bitcoin is still, it's holding its place around 40.30 at $93 million, 24-hour volume measured in USDT, measured in Tether. All this stuff is still going up. That is just amazing. Okay, you know what? I'm just not going in. I'm not going in yet, but I'm going to test anyway. 1011. One zero two two. So if you guys see the same thing that I do, looks like we've hit our peak up here at 1062, and it's not very different from the pattern that we see in here and here. So if you look over here, you can see this with the 2 down and then the up. And then it shallowed out around here. So we're kind of at the same position over here. This came down, and then it started up. So if it starts up again, we may be going higher than 1062. Okay, and Bitcoin is going up a little bit at 40.43. So you can see now 1033 doesn't seem so extremely far away. So I think that Raven proves a good example of the psychological barriers. You know, it was a big deal for it to go from 800 to 900 and a really big deal for it to go from 900 to 1,000. But it really seemed like a bigger mental climb up to mental climb from the 990s into the 1000s. It's like it's a whole new thing now. But if we were here, we would need to go from 1050 to 1060, exactly what that range is. Don't really need to do the whole thing, but I always kind of like to look at overdoing it slightly. You can see exactly the same pattern happening here with ADA. Assistant District Attorney, not so much. And not the same thing over here in ONT. ONT was not pleased that I left, apparently. So it was like, nah, you're not going to be here. I don't have to do it either. So that's exactly how ontology talks. Ontology talks. Here on the late night. So we were looking at ZIL. ZIL is still kind of interesting. Nice little range for it to do there. Did I choose the right thing over here? Yes, I did. Check me. And did I leave it unmuted? Yes, I did. Okay. Oy vey. Okay. ENJ is up out of the 4600, so it'll be up now. Boom and boom and boom. Nice. So let's see. Lots of buy-ins at 47.19, so it'd need to do. I'd like to see 47.60 if it could do that. So here's the interesting, the risk here is it's easy to be optimistic and say, hey, it's up here now. And it got up there really quickly. It takes a lot more effort for it to go up and down. This very easily, well, that was the 18th. Let's see. Where's the big climb? It was a little bit longer than that, was it not? Yeah, okay. 1, 2, so there's the third one. Third one's, well, Boom, boom, boom. Change. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's kind of the third one. is going to go down more, but that's in broad strokes. So 47, 40. Yeah, there's still room in there. My concern is that it could come all the way down here. You know, I mean, the move from the 700s times 3 even is just here. So it's not like a slap in the face to E&J's new big climb in value for it to level off somewhere higher than where it began. So, yeah, I was going to say it's not 1030. All right. Steady climb, steady climb. So 1033 is where we were over there. I'm curious if it starts to pick up what I'm throwing at it or not. 33, 35, 37, 39. Okay. It's getting a little twitchy there. It's probably actually going to help it go up a little bit, but I'm just not sure exactly what I'm willing to do here. I don't want to turn down an opportunity, but I don't want to find that 1100 is its absolute top and I'm done. And then, you know, welcome to the new high that you're stuck in. You know, it has been a while since we've had anything like that. But I got to tell you, we got to be making some moves in this market, buddy. Things are going to start to pick up pace. And speaking of which, Bitcoin, despite only holding just below 93 million now, is back in the 92s. It is still making its climb. I mean, this part right here is what Bitcoin is doing. We're looking at this over a couple of days now. Well, basically one day. So I'm just curious. Just a little on this side of Kirsch. Really like Raven, and I'm not, you know, I don't have a specific reason other than I've journeyed along with it for a while, and it seems to have happy people that follow it. I don't know anything about them. Yeah, we'll have to investigate deeper on the fundamental analysis side of things. For sure, there's no question. It must be done. All right, so I don't see massive movement happening here, and so it gets a little bit risky getting too close to that because it could change so very quickly. And I don't want to be the test rat for that. Man, mouth, come with me in the thoughts of which I speak. MFT was actually at the bottom, is that true? Yeah. Surprised that that's that low at 89, because that really is kind of a big deal that it made it up to 98. We have one really old position in that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if it starts to have the same kind of spikes that other stuff have, we have a very small amount of it. So I think it's like a $40 position or something along those lines. So we're getting into that range. Man, I remember when, I know this probably sounds crazy to you, but in the early days when this was so stressful and we were pushing so hard, testing every single thing, doing dozens and dozens of trades because things for the most part were moving very quickly and the risk was so high, and I remember sweating, you know, something that would be like a $3 or $4 loss. And, you know, it's just like, gosh, you know, it's not so much that you're losing, you know, I mean, you know, in the real world, obviously, $4 was not that huge of a deal to us. We have to earn a lot more than that, you know, in just regular daily costs of things. Things are pretty expensive in the US, and we're not even in the really expensive part. So, I mean, you know, if I was in the US, wherever I am, whatever. But you know, the psychologically going from a few pennies to going to 17 cents to going to our first 30 cents, 50 cents, you know, 68 cents in a single trade, $1, you know, you have to understand that this is money that you're earning on top of money that you didn't have. So I mean, you had $100 and now you got this extra 17 cents and 50 cents and $1. It's a big deal. You can just walk right up to your computer and start increasing the value of this investment that you put in. And so, man, losing any ground like that was just such a very, very, very difficult thing. And it certainly would be just as devastating now if it was, in the thousands, of course. But just don't think of it in those terms in the same way, because we're so focused on the process and making sure that we get the process right. And it is working. So, the challenge here is to find safe opportunities, find them more often. So when you have things to where things pretty much sit still or they go spiking up, you need the balance in between those two things. You really do. Now, if you had $1 gazillion, part of the side strategy stuff, oh my goodness, it is so exciting, the side strategies. But, you can lay positions down very low in very strategic places. And you really just, the only thing you need to make sure is sweep through there and know what they were so that you don't forget to put in the sell orders. Of course, you could use a robot for that. It's not really all that complicated. What's complicated with the bots is, first of all, like any program, make sure they do updates, that they didn't change your settings. That's one thing. Sometimes there's a little bit of an API lag. The API is the thing that you use to connect to the market from your bot. And it is very, very safe unless you give your information away to somebody. You should never, ever, ever do that. Everybody warns you about it. So if you do it, it's just a little bit on the, I'm not going to say, people have their reasons for doing not the brightest of things. We could all fall for something, right? Yep, it's true. It is. So, all right, so lots of interest in BTT. People that want to wait around for a long time for their positions to clear, but they're really expecting some just really big waves to come along, and very soon. Look, ENJ is actually going up again. Man, I'm telling you, this is not easy to get in on. I think that there's a chance of Raven kind of thinning out up here, even if Bitcoin is heading in a position to shoot up, which I'm not certain. I'm sure somebody out there has already said it was going to happen a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't really sure what they were talking about. They were a little vague at the time, but now that it's time for it to happen, they're absolutely sure that they called it. But you don't hear a lot of people that are, let's just say, good at this stuff, willing to say words like, I don't know. Sometimes that is the right thing to say. But you also need to know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. It is true. Hey, boo-boo. So Phoenix is kind of finding its peak in the 330-ish kind of range. BCPT can't seem to make it to 1200 yet. It will again. STEEM, I'm happy to see it around 1200. So we're looking to move decimals here. Let's see, we want it, it would be 1200, I guess, would be probably 450. So I guess we want to see like a 0.002200 or more, if I've got that right. So 1500, not too terribly long ago. It would have been worth, still about 12 there. So when it came down to 7,000 instead of 12,000, that was courtesy of the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. It's not a scapegoat if it's the reason that something happened. You know what I'm saying? Good. Okay. So 1066, this is able to go higher. That is awesome. I think that 1100 might be that psychological ceiling right now. Support, resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance. So we're going to look at the negative side of the change. Doc 136. Nope. XLM possibly. Perhaps maybe. It could be. Could be. Yeah. Let's see. That's weird. It maintained in here when Bitcoin was doing exactly the same thing. Bitcoin went through one of those very narrow Bollinger moves around here. This is almost identical through here. And then went up and XLM went down. Isn't that interesting? That negative correlation thing is a strange feller. So Encash at some point is going to do its 10% and then it's going to do its 10% again. How can I tell? Oh, I can just tell. So this isn't actually a bad move. If a person were to have enough to go around, these are excellent side strategies. Excellent side strategies. So fuel's got a way to go, but it's holding in 300. That's good. It's interesting. It's hovering around that 500 BTC 24-hour volume. I'm kind of curious. How sensitive are you feeling, Fuel? Wait a few seconds. Should see something around here or here. Not at all. Okay. There. Okay. Does this mean anything? Yes, it absolutely does mean anything. It means something. Yeah, that's some of the stuff that we'll be talking about in the group. If you want to subscribe, that'll be awesome. Because you will learn a lot. And if you don't want to learn a lot, you can still at least mirror the stuff that we're doing. I'm going to spend a lot more time in the group doing that stuff, and we're going to talk more in detail, more technical. So it's a learning experience. It's something that you can follow and scale with the EGC. And we'll talk you through your positions, what size you should be at. Okay, things are shifting around a little bit. Yes, I am a little bit interested in getting in on fuel again if it's the right scenario. So I'm actually going to take a look at fuel. Two, 9, 1. 2, 9, 2. Now it's very possible that coming in low and kind of testing the waters as I come up, it's very possible that it actually raises the value. And it depends on how things shift and what the volume is doing, and especially in comparison to Bitcoin. So right now we're at 499 BTC 24-hour volume. Curious where it goes from there next. You can see there's not a whole lot down here, but that doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot when you're only, in that value range. I'm kind of thinking that it would be really cool if it got into some of these spikes like we see up here. Show you a little bit more of its movement there. So it's only done a range of 297 to 313. I have this weird feeling about where it might be headed next. Just not sure. We test, we look, and we test. And I see some of the signs of what I would look for if it's starting to go on a certain move. So, you know, the 15-minute, obviously you can see that this is not the time on the stock RSI. Well, I mean, it's a MACD, but it's showing the moving average crossing over there. Here, I'll show you what I mean by the stock RSI at 15 minutes. Stock RSI, there it is. Usually don't use that over here. Yeah, so okay, you can see that it's kind of doing this winding down thing. It's weird to have the stock RSI and then not be able to see the MACD at the same time. It's strange in the browser. So yeah, I like seeing that MACD. I'd actually like to see the VWAP. Show me that VWAP. Okay. So it's holding volume around there. 498. Yeah, see, it's coming down in volume. It's not necessarily as much these tiny little sell-offs here, although it's a little bit that, but that a lot of the up volume has already happened in previous time, and it's tapering off a little bit. But let's see where did 21? That's not a long period of time to be able to get a range of about 4 in there. That's more than 1% in there, so that's not bad. If it's tapering off, then it'll probably still continue to come down a little bit. So I'm going to go in on the speckly Morse code part again. It's tough to tell. I mean, it's not a pattern that it's doing right now. It's something that I have this feeling about something that comes next. Just not really sure. It's got the ability to get on the move. So, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I do, but okay. Yeah, we're not going to linger here too long. I will be okay if it does it and I miss out on it. And I don't even feel like having to say I told you so. But keep your eye on fuel if you want to. That 295 range. Something about it, I'm not sure. Something about the movement that it was doing. Interesting. These things are going to come back around sometime in the next 2 days. So, fun. Actually, still impressed with. It has made it up from 97 up to 116. So, that was, you know, a pretty substantial move. So, it's still about 15% up from, you know, it took it a while to get there. So, it'd be great if it had just like, you know, 3 really good days. That would pretty much be all it took. MCO, just not in the range that I like. I'd rather it get to the next step. OST is just hovering on that range. See how it's not quite able to do that extra little, just not quite. RIN, it hasn't come into its own yet, but it's headed in the right direction. Theta is a little bit low on volume. It should be able to do more. Should be able to do more than what it's doing. Yo. Wow. That's crazy, man. So now you can see a little bit more of what it's actually doing. 82 to 96, not a terrible range. Not awful. Phoenix still hovering in that range. Good for you, but do better. 1323, that just about of a 10 move. So, you know, that was enough to clear our 0.5% that we're shooting for. DNT still the same thing. BCPT still light. ENJ is headed up again. Yeah, look at that. Good for you. Might look like a small up, but it isn't. Raven, You are just so impressive. Okay, so are you trying to lure us in with your wily ways? Is that what you're trying to do? Because I mean that means that your 1050 made it to 1060. If that's what you decided to do. Alright, so I almost would feel more comfortable with waiting to see how much ONT is going down and going back in than catching Raven at such a high point. Vet, is Vet actually going up, or is it just there in comparison to Loom? Because I think that's just like 1.5 moves to, yeah, 40 to 41 to 42. Interesting. And it's got that much on every position. So, Vet, something to finally actually watch for. Not certain that it's going to do anything, but man, okay, so everything is starting to get a little spikish on its way up. Isn't that interesting? So ONT is losing a little bit of ground. Wow. So they didn't make the change here in the browser, and I mean, it might just be that I need to reload. But in the browser, they've changed this to where you only see the 3 digits here. Even though it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so it should be technically 4. And you see over here, you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, yeah. It should be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There should be 2 more there. So 400 is actually 40,000. And you see 40,000 here. It's done a spread of more than 8%, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, so they made it to where when you look over here, that you would see 399, 400 in the browser version. Raven is still going up. Unbelievable. It's amazing. Fly away, little raven. Fly, fly, fly. Fly, fly, fly. iOS setting up. Good for you. Isn't that interesting? What did it do to my voice up there? Oh. Okay. Po. Powa. Gooped. Sandals. He's getting a little loopy, folks. Okay. So now we're going to look by volume again. Not a huge surprise there. A bit of a huge surprise there. It's an interesting swoop there. So Bitcoin has just barely come down in this range. We see this part almost and not much else. It went all the way up to 4051 and then it's at 4047. So the 4828 to 4770 is a little bit of an exaggeration. So I'm trying to remember the whole lifetime on this again. Made it up to 63. I know that's recent, but what was its height before? That's what I thought. Yeah, see, it's totally broken its record. Yeah. Yeah, that's a risky place to be up high. So we can let it do its down, but see, I don't think it's going to do a full down. 48.30. That's what's so tricky about this. I mean, it is way up there, and you want to get it on the way up, of course. But there's no entry point that, I mean, this would not have made sense. I mean, I guess it depends. It depends on what you see there, for sure. I'm looking for something a little bit safer the higher that it gets up there. So, gosh. I mean, it's getting a little bit of its volume back, a tiny little bit of green right there. GTO is not a bad one to trade on. I haven't found a lot that captured my attention recently, so for it to need to move about 8 or so is just, yeah. And I mean, that's a huge range too, so unfortunately when you get overly busy with other stuff, then there's a lot of good positions that I haven't been able to be on top of. Okay. That was pretty, wasn't it? Yep. Yep. Okay, then. Okay, E and J is showing some interesting movement here. There's the indecisive. It thinks it wants to go down, but not really. It's indecisive. Thinks it wants to go down, but not really. The doji candles are really fascinating. Make sure that you watch the video on the doji candles. And the thing is that it is so very much about, you got to learn the rules so that they become instinctive, and then you can break them. Because a lot of times it's exactly when it's going to do the wrong thing that I know it's the right time to do something. And it must serve us well, at least a little bit, with the number of times that it would have worked against us if it was the wrong instinct. So kind of fun when you go against the grain and it works. Yeah, there's a transition that needs to take place, that will take place. Don't know when it'll happen. But when it does, the shift in value for some of these coins, much more so about the amount of volume that they're doing, buying and selling. You don't want all of it to be up, and you don't want all of it to be down. But, even if it were staying within a very narrow, 2 or 3% range all the time. And look at that, 2,700 to 34.88. The transition that I foresee taking place, I think is going to open up so many opportunities. It could just get really, really exciting. Just, these are the tough times. Man, it's a character building thing for sure. Do you have the patience to do stuff when it ain't, super slick and fast and fun? Do you have what it takes to do this when it's rough? When it's slow and waiting for the right thing is scary? I think you've got it in you. Okay, see how this is starting to pick up steam here? And Bitcoin is coming down a bit, so we're watching to see what pattern is this actually. I mean, it's already done 33.60 something to 70 something. 33.7, and it's one of those that's an extra 2 digits. 33.70, 33.70. So I need to go to about 34.10, which is up here. Not far from where it was before, and this is on a down angle, but it looks like it's starting a new uptrend. Now this one didn't last very long. This one lasted less time. This was 92. Just shy of what you would need it to be. Yeah, risky range. Risky range sounds like a wrestler name. And in this corner, risky range. Risky. Okay. Boy, he's a gas, isn't he? What's up top? Huh. Yeah. Yep. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay. So gonna see about a 7,200 again at some point. See, that was, yeah, it's been over a week. Looks like it's kind of averaging down in this area. Don't know if it's going to go down from there or not, but it kind of looks like it might go down a little bit more before it comes back up. But I do think that, well, I mean, it could go below 6,800. I really don't think so this time. Yeah, it could. But somewhere around that range is going to bounce. It'll make it back into the 7s. Okay, Raven. And check you out. So now we start to get in a slightly more potential range if it comes down to a certain amount, but not too down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. 1022 may not have been such a bad range to be looking at, but I think people are going to try to sustain it above there. So let's watch and see what happens. Oh yeah, okay. Interesting. So what we want to see is what happens with the volume in relation to the price in here. This is getting interesting. 1040 to 1052. Yep, right about. I don't think it's going to have to get that low, but you know what? It could go shooting down. And a lot of it depends. Right now, it depends. Right this very second, it depends on what the Bitcoin does. Okay, things are starting to pick up pace a little bit. Very exciting. Very exciting. Okay, all right. See a little bit of that lip right there. And this is such the pivotal time where it's so tricky because it can reverse so easily. But if you can catch that trend before it happens, you get the up before it even becomes risky. See, we want to get in like at 1052. And I think that's what it's going to do. But if it doesn't, it can go all the way down to 1012 again. And I mean, you got to remember that it does not live up here. It's never been up here before. It's like it's hearing me talk. Oh, it's just like it's redrawing itself as it goes along. I love this part. It's great. It's good. It's good. Yep. See, I think it's going to do it. But it's so often that this is where it does a double down. And you know what? I already see a double down developing with Bitcoin. So as much as I want to just hop right in there. Oh, see, it's so tough. It's so tough. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. It was going to be the 1042, 1052. Yep. So it is the good one. But, okay. Yeah, so tough to get in there. Really wanted to do that. See, this is the trickiest time. And I've actually, before I realized that the stock guys just will not go near, real challenging TA like this, technical analysis. I would ask them, this is my position. This is the thing that I'm looking for. Do you have any way to gauge when it's going to do a fake out? Can you see beyond that part to see when it's going to do a fake out? Oh, they will not answer that question. And so it's kind of that thing where I know, like, if it's beyond my abilities with instinct to know something more about the TA there, and other people just will not answer it. So you can see it broke the bottom of the Bollinger, did exactly what we kind of talk about in this kind of thing. So, I mean, I could have done 1042, 1052, boom, it would have done exactly what I was looking at right there. Just did not feel like we can afford to take that kind of risk. And I don't want to lead somebody else into that kind of risk either. But, oh man, it's so tempting to just go in there because I see the pattern. It's exactly that little waveform pattern that I'm so used to seeing. So now it's actually going to come down a little bit. May not. It's going to cross the Bollinger here. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to come down a little bit. You can start to see the shape changing down there. See this, instead of this continuing to do like a curved upward bowling move, like what you're supposed to do with your when you're bowling. But this is kind of leveling off instead. So, yeah. Now, if it doesn't go too deep, then people are going to buy right back in. Interesting. This is so cool. 54.88. Okay. So somebody like, for instance, wanted to put a Bitcoin at 1037. Let's just do it. 1037. Okay, immediately responded. See that potential for the double down right here? Right there? So it's actually coming down to get our position. I don't think it's a great idea. So we have now tested that. Yes, it does have an itchy trigger finger. Okay. So let's see how far away we can get from it here. That just shows me, I mean, that's just how risky that move actually would have been. It did do exactly what we were thinking, but it's immediately able to do the next thing that I was concerned about. And Bitcoin is still on a downward trajectory. So, I mean, it could start to falter just a tiny bit. See, we were 54.88, weren't we? $54.48? Did I say it wrong out loud? Or no, I think it really is dropping that much. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it is dropping. Okay. Yeah, we're playing this well, I think. Okay, so back of our hill. And I can see it on the View app and the Bollinger. Fascinating. Okay. Let's see. Whoa. What if fuel? What happened? What happened, man? Wow, that's a really big deal. Can't blink for a second round here. So somebody dropped out one of their big 10 Bitcoin positions around here somewhere. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. So 300 to 287. Wow. All the way down to 283. Just like that, man. Boom. Wow, you can't blink, huh? 288. And still lots of small positions too, so that's interesting. So 293.45. When has fuel been less than this? 273 just a few days ago. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Don't want it to be that short-lived for you. Isn't that interesting? Okay, well, it could drop further. And, one thing about the gravity with this kind of stuff is once it drops beyond a certain rate, once it drops beyond a certain point, there's going to be a little bit more of a buyback in. So what we're looking at is this mirror that happened here. So this was the high point over here, 317. And 4 days later, the low point over here. So the equilibrium is somewhere in the 305.6. Yeah, about 306. So that's really interesting. Okay. I mean, just out of nowhere, hey, you know what? I'm out of here. So Bitcoin is still going down a little bit, 40.42. And I'm not sure how much of this is directly correlated to that, but we're going to watch the correlation nonetheless. 33.50 is just kind of hovering. It's showing exactly the very small amount of weakness that Bitcoin is. Phoenix is like, okay, yeah, same range. Raven, not as much. It's kind of got its own thing, but remember 54.44. So gotta keep an eye on this stuff. Make sure that I'm pretty sure I closed everything that was over here. And that's a yes. Look at us trying to consolidate there all over again. Isn't that interesting? The answer is yes. Yes, it is interesting. Thank you very much. E&J still heading up. Ow. I'm glad to see it's doing that. That's really cool. Let's switch over to fun. Okay, to Digity. To fuel. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know exactly what the thinking was behind that drop, but it's there and it's cool. So Bitcoin hovering at 40.42, 92 million 24-hour volume. It is actually working through that 290. So it's 564 there. $33.55, 1047, coming down a little bit. ENJ 48. Okay, it did come down to 292. Gotcha. All right, so what happens next? Still breaking down 291, might be coming down more. Raven is starting to show the exact same shape as Bitcoin up there. Net Goal Fund is like the only one on the line there. So I'm kind of thinking if we can get in at 292 and get out at 295, that would be fantastically, amazingly good. Okay. It's really fascinating to see it hold this, completely solid new line, I would say, of support. There isn't any line of resistance. I wouldn't include this when it hasn't lived at 291 anywhere close to that for a while. Let's see how long that while is, actually. Not a really long while, but yeah, really 297 is more the bottom of where it is. I know it's only been a few days. And Bitcoin is hovering. And it's okay, it's buying a lot in at 294. A lot of buy-in. So 292 it is again. Crazy. Oh, it just hasn't fully closed up the bottom side of that either. So tricky. I test these positions, I'm watching to see a whole lot of information in just a really short time, so it's not something that I can explain very easily while I'm really concentrating hard on it. So something that we will go into great depth on in our paid group. We'll even, we'll do some reviews on some positions that matter. Just kind of go back over the charts and show where certain things happened. Oh, it's a tough call. I want to get in there, I really do. I don't want to have to play the weight game on the bottom somewhere in the 281 to 287 range. If it decides to do that, and it very well could. I've been here before. I'm sure I'll be here again. Okay, that's 289. Yep. Alright, so you see that narrowing into the Bollinger. Volume, VWAP, middle line of the Bollinger, all sitting flat at exactly the same place. Right there at 293, it's like it's establishing that as a volume, as a value. But has it gone into... I mean, it could be continuing the green. Could be continuing its up. And Stock RSI says it's time for it to go up. It should be able to do this. And that's a really great opportunity with E and J as well. It's about 48.10, right about where it started. Not too terribly different from what that's doing over there. My goodness. That is on Binance, yes. Good. Kind of the same thing going on here. So I think that we're going to see just like a little bit of a sag there. Something else is going to shift and start rising to the top. I'm concerned that I'm going to run out of steam before we get to that point. So I need to kind of get myself together offline and do a little bit of this offline. So it's ENJ is down to 2100, 24-hour volume. ONT is where? 6200, 6297, and it's 24-hour volume. So just when you thought it was safe. Huh. Okay. Okay. Ren? Ren, where you been? RQ. Isn't that up a little bit? No? Okay. That's about where it was. Yeah. Bam! That's awesome. Okay. I mean, that's not connected to anything. It's just like, oh, and off it goes. That's awesome. Man. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's a real, it's a takeoff. That's like serious FOMO territory there, man. That's tough not to go in on. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Like, I heard you're thinking of leaving. Well, you might not want to do that yet. So this is coming down further. I'd love to see it make it up into that 4,000 range. It's not impossible in this kind of market right now. It's getting kind of crazy. Hmm. To 49.23. That's insane. That's great. You go, engine. So is that like a 4:30 spike? I mean, see, it happens 3 minutes before. This is the strangest thing. Almost like there's an organized pump at organized pump at 4:30, and somebody got a head start. Gotcha. So now everybody gets stuck at the top. Not fair, not right. Yeah, see, this happens. Everybody puts in a market order, and it goes up, 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 up. That's so cool. Interesting. So the thing is, some of this stuff is going to start coming down a little bit, and then people are going to be disappointed to see stuff go down. But, I mean, it kind of has to do that in order for it to go up. So it's very, 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 it takes no time at all to get used to, oh yeah, things are moving, and then it's like, what does it take for someone to move? So it will slow down again at some point. This may be that point for a lot of stuff. So ONT, interesting. Fuel, interesting. Steam, interesting. REQ, REN. PO. Phoenix. Yeah, I got a little bit weakened there. It's about 7 down, 7 points down. In cash, you poor thing, get up there. And fuel. Just this new narrow position that it's in a mood. And at some point it's going to shift, but you got to catch it at the right point or you're going to be stuck somewhere you didn't mean to get stuck. Positions are kind of starting to layer up now. Well, I don't like the idea of missing that, but I'm kind of okay with that for now. E&J coming down a tiny bit. And it might just go up from there. It's just, I mean, it's pretty impressive. D&T's just down 1. Huh. I can't stop watching it. Can't stop watching it, but I got to. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, and it's bound to do whatever it is we were waiting for it to do. See? That's crazy. I think we had one set at like 2200 or something, set intentionally pretty high to be a longer hold. It's like if you're going to hold it, then go ahead and hold it until it does something impressive, but it's still like much less than the actual peak was. So I've been waiting for that 13 something all this time, and it's now hit its high. Just like that, boom. Yep. So we're going to have to break out the indicator for our next sessions, and I'll actually go over the indicator in our private group. Get things set up that way. Wow. Just like that, boom. Heard you were leaving, baked you a cake. So how fast does it come down to 1331? Yeah, this is just amazing. This market has really become something interesting. And that's right at 430, huh? No? No. Huh. So that's an individual doing that. 1354. I mean, has it ever? Let's see. So 800 was its low point over here. It's a pretty big deal. That's about where it was there. 923. I don't know. Seems like everything is just getting ready to go. You know, if things stay moderately in sync with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has a 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 kind of thing going for it, this is going to be pretty remarkable. And the thing is, on the way up, yes, there's always something to be had for long holds. But the thing is that your money is tied up in that the entire time. That's the whole kind of point about this. If you got all the money in the world, then you can make all the money in the world. It's easy peasy. But if you only have a certain amount to circulate, then you have two ideas. You're either going to go long or go short. And I don't mean by shorting, I'm talking about short positions. E&J back to 48.50. Yeah, I just threatened to leave. That's pretty much what it takes. I'm just going to jump in and do that right away every time now. It's like, I can't tell what the market's going to do. I'm going to leave. Psych. No, it doesn't work that way. So 48.50, right about 49. If it's 48.50, then 49. It could absolutely do it. But there's a really good chance Bitcoin pulls it down right there. See, Raven's going down. Okay. Raven down. Quoth the Raven, nevermore? Question mark. Okay, guys, seriously, I am going to go ahead and call it a night. I'm going to check one more time, make sure I didn't miss anybody's comments. Kind of don't really expect anybody to be around right now. But we'll find out soon enough. So is it this one? Yes. Alright, so that is it for now. Alright, guys. Until next time, Archangel Alts out.